This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Panic mode all last year. Oh my God, the Nets, the sky is falling. Ah! So after last night's rout of the Nets, how do you feel about Ben Simmons and the Nets? Are you as nervous about the Nets this year as you were last year, or have those nerves calmed down?
Well, as I sit in this Memphis ballroom with hopefully the lights not falling as I wait for my room, I will say this, Big O. The Nets, when whole and healthy, probably still do scare some of the bejeebers out of me for this reason. Kyrie Irving didn't play last night. We've seen Kyrie Irving almost single-handedly beat the Heat at times. So yes. Again, if they're whole and healthy, I think they are a very good team. But they are one of these big three teams we've seen constructed that didn't have much of a supporting cast. I know Joe Harris is injured right now. Eric Spoelstra was asked about that before the game also. And it was interesting. Eric Spoelstra was asked, you got your big three with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James. But what you guys in Miami then did is you got Mike Miller and Shane Battier and Ray Allen and Chris Birdman Anderson. The Nets don't have that yet. And what happens in a salary cap world, they're reaching for the Markieff Morrises. They're reaching for the Edward Sumners. They're reaching for the TJ Warrens. So the Nets, I think, are a very good team with Simmons, Durant, and Irving. Championship potential? No, they have to show me a couple more pieces. Joe Harris coming back from his injury, Seth Curry making three-pointers. They have the makings right now. But I got to tell you something else, and you and I have spoken about this in our Acura Pembroke Pines report. We speak about it every Wednesday on our RaidRecover.com Inside the Paint show. If this doesn't go right early, Kevin Durant's going to be back out there. I mean, Big O, you know that last night after the game.
By the way, the caveat that I was going to follow up and ask you is,
feel free.
You are totally right on everything you said, that you got to get your big three, but of course you have to have a supporting cast because we saw 2010 with Mike Bibby and company, it just wasn't enough, and that's cool. Well, it doesn't help also that, LeBron kind of played scared of JJ Barea, but that's a whole other subject. But the other part of that equation is your big three have to fit too. They have
Correct.
to be able to play together because remember the Knicks tried to put together a big three. That didn't work out so well. So sometimes there are other situations we've seen that people try to put together a big three. I guess the Knicks think they have some kind of a big three right now again this time around. But that's the other part of the equation. We really don't know if Ben Simmons is really ready to even become a big anything.
But
I know
will
he's a
say
big
this.
useless, but I don't know if he's a big part of a big three. I can't give him an honor he hasn't earned. You know what I'm saying?
But I will say this. There are top-tier big threes, which the Nets still could become with Durant, Irving, and Simmons. They could. The Knicks' big three of Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and Jalen Brunson is like a B movie. It's like the B-side for old guys like us when you're talking about buying a single. Oh, what's on the other side? What kind of crap did they unload on this? The thing I wanted to get to is this. If the Nets start 11-15, if the Nets aren't great at it, and they have a very tough schedule, the Kevin Durant stuff's going to start again. I tweeted during the game last night, does Kevin Durant wait for the fourth quarter to demand a trade? He's going to be out there again. So almost, from your chat board and your listeners, and we'll get into this Monday again when I'm back here in our Acura Pembroke Pines report. Big O, would you still be interested if Kevin Durant legitimately was on the trade market? Or at some point do you say, I can't deal with a guy who's waffling in the wind, who wants out, who wants in, who wants, X, Y, and Z until he decides A, B, and C is better. So I think it's really interesting. This summer, most teams put their best offer forward. Not what the Nets wanted. The Heat would not put Bam Adebayo in there, but they put a nice package together. The Suns put a nice package together with Bridges. My question is, I just wonder at some point if teams say, hey, we don't want to play this Kevin Durant game anymore. This guy is never happy. Not with the Thunder, not with the Warriors, for a long time, not with the Nets. I'm curious what a Kevin Durant trade market would look like if he decides to flex his trade market muscles again.
It also depends on how he looks too. You know what I'm saying? And I think you didn't get those extreme offers because, dude, he's in his mid-30s. He's 34
Absolutely.
years old, and you're going to take on 4 more years. And really, in the end, it's kind of like what we've been talking about with these other guys that Miami has. It's really the first. To me, the Heat. To me, the Heat already lost out on their key window with Jimmy Butler. Now you're on a
I still
real
think
big time gamble with Jimmy because you're adding so much more mileage on that body now that I think you should have taken advantage the last couple of years. And with the way Lowry came in, you kind of ruined it. So the same thing with Durant. If you're trading for him, you're not really trading for a 4-year window. You're
no
really trading for a shorter
two
window.
two
Yeah,
2 year
he's
window.
older and has injury history just like Jimmy. Jimmy is constantly breaking down, and that's
Mhm.
because he put so much mileage on that body. So, like for me, I worry about this Heat team moving forward, as I've told you from the get-go with these older guys. And I think with Durant, that's the same thing. It's tempting the talent, but it's a fruit that really will get bad on you very quickly. So he has to be playing great at the moment in a couple of months, and then at the same time, you have to say, okay, he's playing great right now, but we got to understand if we're not ready to win a title this year or next year, why should we make this trade to try to win a title 3 years from
And you're
now?
right. And you're absolutely right. I will say this. Kyle Lowry looked very good last night. And I think one thing about Kyle Lowry, and I know we've critiqued his form and his body and all of that and shamed him to a degree. He plays really good old man, slow man basketball. You know,
Yeah,
he could be the
smart.
Slomin. He could be the Slomin's Home Shield Security's mascot. You know, he
Yeah,
is a
he's
slow man
smart.
player,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he knows what to do. He knows the game. So if Kyle is very good this year, if Jimmy shows at 33 he's the same player he was even a year ago, that window might be there because you don't know about Harden in the playoffs. You don't know about where the Nets are going. You don't know about the rookie coach right now in Boston. You don't know if Middleton has another injury for Milwaukee.
I
So
agree. No, I
it
agree.
will be interesting. If
But
Kyle
it's
Lowry
what I'm
looks good,
saying is it's a bigger gamble now than it was
absolutely,
last year and
totally.
the year before, because now you keep adding the age and the miles on it, and it's just you're making it harder on your organization to get over the top. Because I heard the bitch about this whole thing is, dude, it's 82 games.
Yes.
That's a lot of wear and tear on people, and you just can't rest them for 30 of them because you need them to win, and you
But
need them
you're
for playoff
looking at the final
positioning and all that.
28 games. You're
Yeah,
looking at the final 28 in the playoffs. You're looking at the 16 wins you need. So if you're there in December and you're close and you realize, whoa, this is going pretty well. Kyle stayed healthy and he's still around the team. Jimmy still looks good. The one thing I agree with, and I think you were ahead of the curve of this when we were speaking in the offseason, and it was you didn't want to give up 10 years by giving up Bam for Durant. That
yes,
Bam for the next 10 years is going to be a pretty damn good player at 25
right,
right now. Like you
right.
just said, Durant's probably got maybe 2 years in his top window. So how much of the future you to give up? And what compounds that is now you've extended Tyler Hero. So you've committed to your future and you have some nice young pieces. I mean, look at Nikola Jovic last night. Even if he just reaches the range of, say, like a Kristaps Porzingis, for example, if that's his ceiling, not too bad of a ceiling if he's
Oh,
your
that's a
number
great
3
steal.
player.
So, well, without the injuries, please, without the injuries,
Yes,
you know,
without the injuries, but that's down the line. So, it's really interesting. The Heat are really weighing the future and the present right now. Both are very intriguing. It'll be interesting to see where Andy Ellisberg, Pat Riley, Nick Harrison, and Adam Simon, what they do at the trade deadline. Live in the moment or say, hey, you know what? We're set up pretty good going forward.
I did not watch the game. I watched a lot of football last night. Well, terrible football last night, and working on social media because social media was actually more entertaining than the game about the game. So that was actually good. Outside of Lowry, what else did you like in this game?
You know what? The kid showed enough. Like I just said, Jovic showed that, hey, that's what you get at number 27. You get a project. And I love the story after the game. Never Explosive dropped on us. I'm sure you saw this. The kid hasn't graduated high school yet. The kid had to put his high school finals on hold to get ready for the draft. It was so funny in the locker room when Dwayne Dedman hears the story. He's walking by. He goes, what the do you mean you haven't graduated high school yet? It just shows you. The Heat have never been the young team. They've always been the graybeards, the old team. And to see this kid in there, and he goes, no, literally, he goes, no, my mommy wants me to graduate. I will. I just couldn't do it right now. And here's the other thing, and I just posted a story at sunsentinel.com about this. This kid, Jamal Cain, out of Oakland University, looked really good, forward out of there. What's interesting is he's following the lineage of Kendrick Nunn, another undrafted forward out of Oakland University just outside of Detroit. but there's no room at the inn. Why? Orlando Alzugaray's two favorite subjects. If the Heat sign him, they'd be into the luxury tax. We know how you feel about that, Big O. And Udonis Haslem took the spot you otherwise could give a Jamal Cain. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. Did the Heat take one of their two-way guys, Darius Days and Marcus Garrett, remove them from the two-way contract to keep Jamal Cain? Do they go into the tax? But it's like Bam Adebayo told us after the game. Man, these guys always find someone. You can have your lottery picks and your number 15 pick and your late first rounder. We'll find guys, and they have again. And you watched the game last night, and you said to yourself, Jamal Cain, pretty interesting stuff right here.
Yeah, 11 points, 11 rebounds, 6 of them offensive. And if I remember correctly, Jamal Cain is the kid that came in late in Vegas Summer League, right? And
came in a little bit later, was also actually out there in San Francisco.
And I want to say the last game, he was like, I think he shined in that last game, if I remember correctly. And we're like, oh, okay, who is this? Yes. It was like, okay, another guy. And the biggest, while college basketball has been absolutely destroyed and it's a shell of what it used to be, and the college basketball you and I grew up with was so glorious to be able to watch the great young players stay there for 3 and 4 years. And so while it's been a detriment to college basketball and it's kind of destroyed it pretty much, and then at the same time, it's made it even harder for the draft because now players are coming in younger than ever. They have very little film. They have very little film at a higher level, like in college, where you get a better feel for who they are. So because of that, scouting has become that much harder. But if you're really good at scouting, it's also become great because the nuggets are slipping through the cracks like crazy. And if you work your ass off like the Heat continually shows us, they're going to find people no matter what. And they're now, and obviously development is so important. Not only do they find them, but then they develop them at the same time. So it's been a yin and a yang and a good and a bad. And for the NBA, it all depends on what kind of front office you have. But if you have a really good one like Miami, you might just end up taking advantage of all of this.
And look at a kid like Cain, spent 4 years in Marquette, one of the Heat's favorite hunting grounds, then goes to Oakland for 1 year, 5-year collegian, kept working and grinding, and the Heat kept noticing, and he showed up. You remember we were in the basement at the Thomas & Mack Center. We pulled him in for an interview. We basically told Jamal Cain, who are you? And he told us, and this kid's enthusiasm. And last night, he went into the game and he told his mom, I'm going to play against Kevin Durant. I watched him since I was a kid, which tells you how young these kids are. And that Jamal Cain was 8 years old when Kevin Durant broke into the NBA, and he talked about the thrill of the moment. And that's what you like to see, a kid who really appreciates the opportunity he's getting. There'll always be a place for those kind of players, whether it's the Heat, the Sioux Falls Skyforce. They keep an eye on them. They turn them into something. So I think that was really impressive last night also.
All right, so what happens? What's your gut tell you with Jamal Cain?
My gut tells me that Marcus Garrett might be on thin ice for yet another season. If you remember last year, they cut him in midseason. He needed the wrist surgery, but in favor of Kyle Guy.
He's a defensive guy, and so unless he's a consistent 3-and-D guy, then you can consider him that. And that's something I at least from what I've watched with Marcus so far, I have not seen a consistent 3.
So last night he couldn't score either.
I do love his defense.
Again, and again, you and I have said this for months, almost years, it's the Briante Weber, Patrick Beverley. Right. Briante Weber never added the offense. Patrick Beverley became a really good three-point shooter. That made the difference. Tonight here in Memphis, the Heat are going to sit most of their regulars. Jimmy Butler's not even with the team. I think he's at a coffee convention. So instead, Bam and Kyle will also sit, but Darius Days will get big minutes. He's the guy who's with the Spurs Summer League team. You remember Big O in Vegas. They signed him at the last minute. This will be his audition. His job in two-way could be in jeopardy also. But again, that whole UD thing, Israel Gutierrez wrote a wonderful story for ESPN.com about Udonis.
He ain't going anywhere.
Excuse me?
He ain't going anywhere.
No, he isn't. And Udonis is going to stay here and collect the paycheck, but he takes a roster spot up also. And that makes this decision a little bit more difficult. But you know what? The Heat will find a way. They're not going to let talent go, I don't think.
Yeah, Marcus Garrett, one of 8, 0 of 3 from 3-point range.
Yeah,
and yeah, exactly. And there's you can see usage for the other. Like, look, Highsmith did not have a good offensive game, but you've watched him, and so have I. You love his maturity, you love his body, because
Yes.
you figure, oh man, they're kind of hurting at power forward. Well, guess what? His body's better than actually Caleb's or Jimmy to be at 4. He's thicker than both those guys, actually. And one of the things that I like about that kid is I love Highsmith's maturity. And that's
Yes.
another thing that looks like he will be able to handle more responsibility and be more of a role player. But if you can get a Kane who comes in, I'm looking at this, and he's, playing the way he is, now all of a sudden that really, and he adds a little size, right? Isn't he like 6'8" or 6'9"?
Yeah, he's about 6'7", swing forward, so he could play forward, he could play shooting guard. He gives you the option for multiple positions. You can see what he's capable of. Keep an eye on him. He should even get minutes on the back-to-back tonight. They have 2 more games next week at home, so you'll see a little bit more than a week before they have to make the final cut down. Hey, yet another Miami Heat diamond in the rough.
One more thing before I let you go. Pro Basketball Talk, your partner in crime on Wednesdays here on the redrecover.com Inside the Paint show. On Pro Basketball Talk, it mentioned about our boy from the Suns, and it's Miami and Milwaukee actually interested in him. So what are you hearing there? Is this something for down the line?
The trade there is this. The one that's being talked about is
talk about Jake Crowder, by the way, folks.
Jake Crowder and Malik Beasley from the Suns going to the Heat for Duncan Robinson and a first-round draft choice. And the whole point here is, if you give up your draft capital, you'd be left with 1 tradable first-round pick. Now, the Heat doesn't do anything with the first-round pick.
I like that trade.
Oh, you like it for the Heat?
Yes.
I like it for the Heat. But for the but
you got me excited.
The Heat, if they give up their draft capital, I say do it for the reasons you and I spoke about at the top of this Acura Pembroke Pines report. With Kyle 36, with Jimmy 33, with Dwayne Dedmon 33, with Victor Oladipo 30. Give them something now also. You could still have Tyler for the future and Bam for the future, maybe Jamal Cain, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, so you have 1 fewer pick, but you also get to live in the moment also. The Heat would instantly upgrade. God bless Caleb Martin. But you know what, Big O? If you don't have to start Caleb Martin, you have the jack of all trades off the bench. He can guard the point guard like he guarded Trae Young in the playoffs last year. He can guard the small forward. He can guard the shooting guard. He can be a backup power forward. I like that deal. It's a matter of how far the Heat willing to go to give up an unprotected first-round pick in 27 or 29. Look, that's going to be after the Pat Riley era, so it might be different. But you know what? I'm with you. Screw the future. Live in the moment when you have Jimmy Butler. Give Jimmy his best chance.
And this unprotected crap in their case, come on, bro. When are they into? They're rarely in the damn top 10.
The Michael Beasley year, and that's it. As long as Stephon Losme, Blake Ahern, and Kasip Powell aren't on the roster, the Heat aren't tanking. I agree, Big O.
You're not Orlando or Charlotte or one of these teams that, you got to watch out and keep my pick protected. You're the Heat.
Right. Even the Lakers know they go to crap after their stars leave. Even the Lakers are careful about giving up their 2 future picks. They saw what happened when Shaq left. They saw what happened when Kobe left. They've seen before. They have gone to the bottom. So that's why I think people would prefer the Lakers picks, because they can be craptastic. The Heat rarely are.
No. The Heat can coach up Scrubberinis to a 500 record, bro, and almost get them into the playoffs.
And Riley are there. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. What are you working on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friend?
2 stories right now. I just had a really fun tongue-in-cheek story on Nikola Jovic trying to get his high school diploma. His mom saying, you got to go to college, young man. Also, for people who don't know, in Europe, high school can last till you're 19 or 20. It's a different program there. College can be more trade school. He's a smart kid. He'll be fine. He'll make mama happy. And then my story just on Jamal Cain and what he's done and how he was in awe of Kevin Durant. He went up to him. He told Kevin Durant, I'm in awe of you. Kevin Durant patted him on the chest and said, keep working, kid. And then instead of being starstruck, he made the most of his moment. So I have stories on those 2 guys. In Sunday's Sun Sentinel, I'm going to talk about why the Tyler Hero deal is not that bad for the Heat and why, while it closes 1 trade window, it will open another.
There you go. Ira, as always, have a fantastic weekend, my friend. We'll catch up next week. Thank you.
Got up at the ass crack of dawn to get to Memphis just for the Big O show and the Acura Pembroke Pines report. Thank you, Big O.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. There you go. That is Ira Winderman. You got all the Heat knowledge dropped there.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.